Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a while, and I would like to apologize for that fact. I was going to start us back up with a new release Tuesday or a mall Monday, but I would have had to record something new because I've had episodes in waiting. They were uploaded, they were scheduled, they were ready to go. And then mom passed away. It was very sudden. It was very unexpected. And on top of dealing with funeral arrangements and what have you, I've also been trying to find a place for my brother and my father to live that was closer. So that's where I've been. Realistically, I probably should have still held off on this until after they were moved in and they were settled. But yeah, it's been a little over a month, coming up on roughly a month and a half since mom passed. Move-in date for my dad and my brother is in about a week and 3 days. So counting down the time for that. So it's been a lot on top of the typical, figuring out funeral arrangements and what have you when someone passes suddenly. There's also been a lot of, you have to go through, you have to figure out, what's on auto pay that shouldn't be on auto pay. How do we get in touch with these people and let them know, hey, tough shit. You're not getting any money. The estate doesn't have any money. The estate is actually in debt, so you get nothing. Good day, sir. And just trying to navigate this minefield. Plus going back and forth with the apartment complex where I live, because originally there was going to be an apartment February 15th. Awesome. Mine. Gimme. Then it was March 1st. Okay. Not as ideal, but cool. Then it was March 15th. And finally, it came to a head the other day when I said, the whole reason that I wanted this apartment is because I can see it from my bedroom. It is right across the street from me. I know for a fact that maintenance has not been going in and out of there, cleaning, whatever. So can I assume then that we are done and the apartment is ready to be moved into? Because every time I would ask, she would say, oh, well, I need to talk to maintenance. They're still doing stuff. And finally, I'm watching the apartment like a Cold War spy. There is no fucking maintenance going in and out of there. What are we doing? And I think part of that is we recently had back-to-back storms after mom passed, the likes of which this region has not really seen in a good while. The first one dumped about, I want to say, 1.5 feet of snow. The second one, a week or two later, dumped another, or I guess it was 3 weeks later, dumped another foot of snow. And the second time, the apartment complex was pretty well on it, but the first time, no, they were really bad about it. And ordinarily they have ATVs with snow plows. They've got snow throwers. They've got a team of people to knock this out. And instead it was one guy that showed up 2 days later with a snow thrower, did the sidewalk across the street, and then did not get to ours until the following day. So it was just really bad. A lot of the snow that people themselves, from shoveling out cars, whatever, ended up being piled in the street near the sidewalk And parking around here is already kind of at a premium. So all of a sudden, every 3 or 4 parking spaces was taken up by this mound of snow and ice. That maintenance couldn't just park outside of the vehicle. They would have had to park either across the street or down the block a little bit. And I think they just couldn't be bothered with that. So I've been going back and forth with them a goodly bit. But so that is where I have been and why the videos suddenly dropped off. As I said, it was very unexpected. So instead of doing a Mall Monday or a new release Tuesday, this is something else I've had in the works for a little while. Transport Fever 2 has always been a game that I enjoyed. Ever since I first booted up, I played, Transport Tycoon back in the MS-DOS days. And then, of course, I played Open Transport Tycoon Deluxe. And so when I saw this as sort of a spiritual successor to all of that, I was hooked immediately. And Transport Fever 3 should hopefully be coming out sometime this year. I'm hoping for sooner rather than later. But this is a game that's always been very near and dear to me. And you have to understand, my father loves trains. I cannot state adequately enough how much he loves trains. And so, he's got this 18-foot by 12-foot O-gauge train platform in his attic. It's the entire attic, minus a small walkway on 2 sides. It's absolutely massive. But he's also been collecting trains for 50 or 60 years at this point. So this is like his entire life's work has been building up this train platform, amassing this collection. And as a kid, my dad, my mom, my brother, my sister, myself, we would go out to Strasburg Railroad and the Pennsylvania Railroad Museum multiple times a year. These were usually day trips. And when we weren't going there, we were going to an amusement park called Dutch Wonderland, which is basically around the corner. So even if the vacation idea was to go to Dutch Wonderland for a couple days, we'd inevitably end up at Strasburg and the Pennsylvania Railroad Museum. And that love of trains got passed down to, at the very least, me. I don't know. Like, I've never had the conversation with my brother and sister, like, hey, do you like trains? So at the very least, I know it got passed down to me. And my wife enjoys them. And I remember every time we were going, whether we were going to Strasburg or Pennsylvania Railroad Museum, or if we were going to, the Greenberg train show, the Allentown train show, the York train show, my dad would have cassettes and later CDs of railroading songs. And, we'd be heading out there and, with the cassette, play side A. Side A is done, play side B. Side B is done, flip it back over to side A, and just keep playing the same tape the whole way up and then the whole way back, unless he got a new tape while we were there, where the tape changed, but the songs didn't necessarily change. So I remember when my wife and I were going to Steamtown National Park, because for as much as, like, my dad loves trains and loves the history of Philadelphia. He was a tour guide for a long time. I enjoy history a bit more broadly, and I love the national parks and I love trains. So Steamtown, National Historic Site, was, sort of a blending of best of all 3 worlds. when my wife and I went up there, I of course made a YouTube mix of all train songs to listen to. Sort of an homage to my father and the trips we used to take. And so I bring all that up because when my dad was here, I guess it was a couple years ago now, he and mom were here. They were sitting on the couch behind me. And he said something about trains and, when are you going to have a house? Are you going to have a train platform, or when are you going to have a train platform? And I said, when I get a house. But in the meantime, this is what I have. And I pulled up Transport Fever 2 and I showed him the map, and, I had the trains crisscrossing, and I've put a lot of mods into this to have way, way, way more trains. So once I get into it, if you just have the base game and you're like, wait a tick, I don't have that. Yeah, no, it's a mod. And I'll go over some of that when we get into it. But this is what I can do to have a train platform. I have my little Lego shelf here with 3 tiers of track, and I've got my red Lego City tram and my green, white, and black Lego City Express passenger train. And then my wife bought me the Oriental Express, and we bought the light kit, and we have all that set up on a nice shelf right above my computer here. And we have all the minifigures and what have you. So it looks like a snapshot of life. Very much like a train platform when nothing is running. With the little figures, and you've got the lights on and what have you. So very similar, except only the only the passenger train can move under its own power, and realistically, it can only move about 6 inches backwards and forwards. So, I have my approximation of a platform. He has the real deal. So instead I have this. And so instead of throwing in a random Mall Monday, New Release Tuesday in the middle and having to go backwards and forwards with that, I figured I would just upload this. And who knows, maybe when Dad's sitting over in the apartment, he can sit there and he can enjoy it. Before we get into it, let me get the music going. There we go. Funnily enough, I had started this recording just before I did this one, and didn't have the title card up. So, go me! I'm a real content creator. So, one thing I do want to share before I kick over to the game proper is this is probably the photograph that I am most proud of. I took this the last time we were in Strasbourg. We're actually standing right in front of the Red Caboose Motel, right in front of Casey Jones Diner. We are, we're right there, and I managed to snap this picture, and then, everyone looks at this and goes, oh my God, the Photoshop work. I didn't use Photoshop. I used Lightroom, and all I did was add, was tweak the contrast settings a little bit. But I've always been rather proud of this picture since I got it made. Or rather, since I did the editing on it. So I thought I would share. Because this is, like I said, the last time we were up there. So with that, let's kick it over, and we are going to go to free game. And I usually play on temperate. I'm going to kick it to tropical just to see how it is. And the music might stutter in the background because this takes up a huge amount of resources when it's getting started. So I definitely want more mainland than that. Okay. All right. So there's plenty of places where water can still be used to traverse. So I can still use boats. It looks like trains can definitely just crisscross straight through, which is awesome. Because it means I can have a cargo hub up in here, down here, and in the center to be able to send goods to all corners of the map. Of course, that's a late game goal, but that would be the intention. So I like that. We're going to go with it. We are going to drop this difficulty down to medium because this is going to be a lot more casual. We're not going to allow industry to close. We've got the industry density target set to high. Towns are going to need up to 6 cargo types. I think by default it's set to 2. In the beginning, they'll request 2. As the town grows, they'll request 2 more. And as they grow even bigger, they'll finally get to 6. There are only 6 cargo types that cities will ask for. So it's randomized which 2 they ask for first, which 2 they ask for second, and which 2 they ask for last. But it will always be the same 6. That's sort of one of the shortcomings of this game, I feel, but it is what it is. So that said, one of the first things we want to do, I'll go back to mods in a second, is make sure that vehicle type is set to all. Town names, I'm American, so we're going to run that. Difficulty's medium. The town growth, again, this is more something that I just want to do more for funsies. So we're just going to leave this as is. Ordinarily, this would all be set to 100%, but I like making the towns grow. And again, I already did my very hard playthroughs on this game with everything set normally. So as for mods, achievements with mods, just in case we get something fun, although I don't think there's any achievements I have left to get in free mode. I know there's still some I have to get in the campaign. I just haven't been, I couldn't be bothered with it. Auto signal, amazing. Automatically places signals at predefined intervals. It's great when it works. Sometimes it goes stupid. More industry levels, does what it says on the tin. It adds more levels to the industry so they can produce more. Natural town growth is nice. It lets the town, you don't have to satisfy every criteria before the town will grow. It can grow in certain sectors independently as their needs are met. More lines and vehicle colors. And then we get into a lot of different trains and rail cars, rolling stock, different planes. So 1957 extended caboose, EMD E8, and I have a lot of these, the Demonstrator, Union Pacific, Pennsylvania Railroad, Baltimore and Ohio, Amtrak. The one thing I will say is that Reading, because my dad loves Pennsylvania Railroad and he loves Reading, and Reading has been the hard thing to find. So yeah, lots and lots of steam engines. We have the Challenger, the Alco PAs in nickel plate road livery, the Amtrak Liberty, the Atlantic Coast set, the Erie, before they joined and became Erie Lackawanna, Illinois Central, Santa Fe, New York Central, Union Pacific, New Jersey Transit, because of course. So I have a lot of Pennsylvania Railroad, a lot of New Jersey Transit, Atlantic Coastline, Nickel Plate Road. I actually have some, they're not going to be in order, are they? Should be right in here, and of course it's not. Somewhere in here I also have, there it is, SEPTA. And one thing I am going to be using very heavily is this. It's an invisible building that can hold 10,000 of anything. Probably the most cheating mod that I use, but it just keeps stuff looking tidier. It ignores a lot of the error messages where, hey, you know, stuff's being thrown out, and it will not work with small bus stations and what have you. So I can't use this to just completely cheese passenger lines. That does have to be attached to an actual station. So we do have a lot of rail that got added. We have the trolleys for SEPTA. I think my dad actually has one of these in O scale. It might be a different one, but the engine looks very, very similar to that. But I want to say the coloring's different, so it's probably a different engine. Of course, we have the Polar Express, 284 Berkshires, the 464 Hudsons, the 4664 Challenger. So lots and lots and lots of different trains. We are going to apply all of that. It's going to generate the map. And then I'm going to pause because it is going to take probably 5 minutes just to load the map. Yeah, there it goes. So we'll let the nice whistle play, and I will pause it and bring it back when we are just about there. All right, we are back with it, and it'll probably still take it a couple seconds here to figure its stuff out, but there we go. Also coordinating with my brother for Mom's birthday dinner. So we have the map, and you can see it already jumped to January 2nd. Like, the time in this game goes insanely fast. If you plan to play, I would highly recommend just dropping the date down. You'll also notice that we are starting in the year 1800. Another lovely mod of mine. So we have somewhere here. Minimap. So we can see. Let's see, can we go to large? Whoop, wrong way. Minimap size small. All right. So this is roughly the center of the map right here. So we have Clearwater, Spokane, Rockford at the center with 138 residents, but that's going to drop 81 and 200. So realistically, this would be the best one to aim for the capital, but looking around at how much open field we have here, and it's between Spokane and Clearwater. We do want to take a quick peek at our lovely list of cities. So I think we're going to go with Clearwater. From Clearwater, we're going to go ahead and edit that. Philadelphia. I mean, hell, it's where I was born and raised. Gotta bring it back to there. Plus, that way I can use, you know, a lot of the existing stations. We can bring in the Reading Terminal. We can bring in 69th Street, 30th Street, all that fun shit. So this is where we're going to make the capital, and we can see that it wants construction material and tools. Well, how do we go about getting those? And you can see a lot of the cities are going to want construction material and tools. So to get tools, we can get them here from this tool factory, and that requires steel. To get steel, I need to bring copper and coal over here, and it will make steel for me. So I would have to find copper and steel, bring both of those resources here, then bring this to here, then truck this up to here. And that's going to be a lot for the very beginning of the game. But one thing I can do, and it would be a little tricky, it would be a little risky, especially this early in the game. But what I could do is grab from here and here and run it there, and then run a line down to the tools, bring the tools back up, and just truck them in from there. And that seems like a much better way to go about doing that. Plus I have extra coal, extra copper, so if this starts... Oh. There's also a tool factory there. Or I can take... Well, I would need to find a source of lumber, but I could grab lumber, take it there, and then turn the lumber into... Or turn the planks into tools. So there are a few different ways I can go about doing this. But I think first and foremost is going to be setting up this. Now, do I want to do that with train? I mean, that's a very short train. I don't think I want to do that. But I might. I might. In fact, if I set this up like so, rotate it in, drop it into place, and you can see that the steel mill itself turns white, which means it's in the catchment area of the station. So that looks good. Drop this down to 2 tracks. Put that there. And then... Good. Do our track construction here. Grab an X pattern. Make the turnout kind of small. Turn off the canteries. We don't need, or catenary. We don't need that yet. Take our track. Run both of these parallel. Now I do have an auto parallel track mod. It sometimes works. You know, we'll see if it'll do it for me. Okay, at the moment it wants to work, which is nice. So what we want to do is grab this, try and keep the speed as high as we can. Okay, not quite sure why you end up looking so goofy, but that's okay. We're going to turn off the parallel track and see if we can't run this in like so. And like so, and we can. I did not think for a second that that was actually going to work, but it did. Run that through. Run this out that way. We're going to have to cut this one kind of sharp, but that is all right. Shallow it out a little bit so that it connects like so. And then where is our station? Our station is here. Track construction, we'll slap down 2 of these. And then one of these is going straight to there. And the other is going to run parallel until it gets to there. There we are. So they get to run parallel for a little bit. So first things first, we go to configure, scroll to the end, grab this invisible building. We're going to insert 3 of those. Close that out, come to here, configure this one. 1, 2, 3. We're going to come down here and we're going to do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then what we need is, we don't need parallel track. And bring that out like so. I just did that to the wrong side because of course I did. And we want to get rid of that. There we go. We need it to be from this side. There. There we go. Okay. From here, we're going to put in a depot. There we are. And then last but not least, just so stuff can actually run, we want to make sure that we are driving on the right. We want the auto signals placed every 200 meters because we're going to be running smaller trains to start. And then that should run signals all the way down to here, which is great. Going back, they will run to there, to there, to there, turn it around, put one there, we have the auto save, put one there, put one there, and that's going to run up to here. So we'll drop something there, turn it around, bring them coming back, make sure they're good there. All right. So what kind of trains do we have? You can ignore that I have access to these big ass passenger cars. They have a weight of 94 tons and the only engines that we have are horses. So we're going to go with these 4 horses, and we will end up using 3 of these along with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that dropped it from excellent to good. 8, 9, 10, 11. So it goes to mediocre there. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we have 10 cars. I could buy that for 1.3 million. In fact, I think that I will. There we go. We'll bring the loan balance up to 8.5 million. We'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we need to actually make our lines. So we want a line going from this coal depot to here. And on both sides, we want to tell it you can use either track. That's fine. And while you're there, wait for a full load. And we'll leave the maximum stop distance alone. So this is rail, copper to steel. And then we're going to do much the same here. We're going to tell it can use either line, or either track, rather. This one is for coal. So it is rail, coal to steel. Wonderful. And then eventually we'll send something out. It might be wagons, what have you, and then we'll bring those back in. But for right now, I want 2 of you to go onto the copper line and 2 of you to go onto the coal line. And let's start it up. So you can see the horse heads sort of clipping through. They're not meant to be run this way, but it's what we're gonna do. And even on quarter speed, you can see we're already at January 6th. January 7th, and this thing has not even cleared the first sighting yet. So, one thing we can do is drop in a signal there, because if nothing else, it can get the next guy coming out a little bit. There we go. Signal let him through. So one thing I did do is I went on and I made sure that I had some of the appropriate engine types because I've been watching Part-Time Explorer, who I know is local somewhere around here. At some point, I'd love to meet that guy. But I was watching his stuff on the Wreck of the Red Arrow, the Wreck of the Broker, etc. So I made sure that I had the correct engines and what have you, because I believe I already have the Pullman cars installed, or maybe they're part of the base game. So to try and recreate some of those historic trains. So we have this guy pulling in here. There's 106 coal waiting. He can take 80 of it, which means he is already good for a full load of coal. So now that we've got that going, we're going to turn the speed up here. Date's going to start flying by. So we're just going to keep an eye on this guy real quick, because we can see how much it's costing us to run him. So costing us 72,000 just for him at the moment. This guy is also full. So we'll see how much he ends up making when he drops off. You can see all of our maintenance costs there getting absorbed. So 241,000. So he is making more than he is costing us, which is lovely. And already on his way back out, his partner train already coming in. There we go, another 241. And then he's on his way back out. Up here we have one train full, two trains full. So the copper line, I think I might need to throw more trains onto sooner rather than later. In fact, that might not be the worst idea in the world. Go in here. We'll borrow a little bit more. We'll go ahead and we'll clone one of these. So now we have a train making its way out and heading that way, while we have a train on its way back. So part of this is definitely how far stuff has to travel, but also how quickly it gets from point A to point B. So as the trains get faster, yes, they incur more running costs, but they will absolutely be bringing in more money. So I am curious to see how much money I make off of this coal guy, and it looks like coal and copper are going to be arriving at roughly the same time. So we're going to try and get our camera down lower so they're both coming in on the right-hand track. Copper is going to get us 490,000. There we go. And then the other copper train is pulling in right behind the first. So that'll be another 490,000. There we go. So while this is doing things, one thing we want to look at, we have a couple different views we can go through. So we have the contours, navigable waters, but we want to look at the land use layer. We want to come in here to our bus and tram stops, and we want a stop here, a stop here, and a stop here. And then what we want to do with this is go from here to here to here to here. This is going to be, you know what? We'll make this one nice and purple. Call this one the Philly Flash. So we are going to need a road depot, and we're going to put that outside of town a little ways. I think we'll put it down this way. We might end up getting rid of that sometime in the future, but for right now, the stagecoach is going to have the highest passenger capacity. I'm going to grab 4 of these. going to send all of these to be part of the Philly Flash network. So they're rolling out. We have these lovely streets here. Look at them go. And we already have somebody waiting at one of the terminals. So we have our money coming in. It's always slow going at first. We can start paying some of that loan back off so that the interest stops absolutely murdering us. Almost got to the negative there. I saw that. So we have 2 trains on our way back. I think we need 1 more on the coal line. And at least 2 more on the copper line to make it... just to smooth out our money gains here. So, and we can actually zoom in. If I pause the game, if I go to her, we can see that Madeline Turner is heading towards the industrial building using the Philly Flash. So she is trying to get over to here. And from there, she'll take the bus either back home or to the commercial district. All of the residents work in the industrial district and shop in the commercial district. Apparently there's no retail workers, but there's plenty of retail shoppers in this world. And if you will provide them with easy enough transit to get from point A to point B, they'll take it. Otherwise, they'll walk or they'll drive their own vehicles. Like this person is going to this residential building over here. So there's a little bit of city planning, not near as much as something like SimCity. But there is a bit of that planning that goes into it. Realistically, though, you're looking at the large scale. You're looking at moving this stuff from here to here. And I think what we might do here, if we look at the contour lines, we can see that hill there, but it's relatively flat here. So if I run a road from here up through and to that tool shed, or that tool manufacturing plant, I could then run it back down and into Philly and then go back and pick up. So where might tools be needed? Tools are needed over here. Okay, fair enough. So we'll drop in a drop-off point there. Over here, however, we need a truck station. And realistically, I think what we're going to do here is... I'm going to have that. Yeah, that's fine. We're going to add on a second platform. We're going to extend these back a little bit. There we go. And then we're going to put in a street connection at the back as well. This isn't the most ideal setup, but it'll work. We're going to drop in some of these invisible buildings. We're going to take our roads, drag them out from here, and we want to be keeping an eye on that on that bit of hill there. We want to avoid that at all costs. Why is there a collision here? There it goes. Just going to take this straight across. From there, we're going to grab this guy. We're going to connect him over there. Get rid of that. And then we'll drop in another truck depot. And that's fine. We're going to... Ooh. Out of money. Well, that's not cool. Nope, we're in the negative. Come on, trains. There we go. All right, so we're about to have money again. There we go. Drop that in there. So now what I want is... I want trucks going from here to here to... You're hidden behind Philadelphia. I don't like that. To there. This is truck, steel, tools, Billy. And since these are tools, we'll make it gray. Right. Go to this road depot that we've already established. We'll grab something that can haul cargo. And we only really have, it doesn't matter what option we choose because they are all only capable of hauling 4 at a time. We're going to grab 10 of these, I think. We're going to send them all to there. There we go. And steel will start forming up here. We already grabbed the invisible buildings for there. We probably won't need them for here right away, but we're still going to drop them in. Alright, so this is completely out of copper at the moment, so it cannot produce more steel until this train arrives. So it's a race between that train and these trucks. And by trucks, I of course mean covered wagons. And it looks like the train will win. So hopefully we'll have some extra steel here. Well, it's going to be close. All right, steel mill fired up. We have more of this being produced. Oh, and that would help. If I come into, whoop, I want the actual route manager. No, I was right the first time. Yes, this is Philadelphia Halt. We want to tell them they can use any platform they desire. Realistically, I guess I should have told them all to go this way. Manage line, that's not a terrible idea. What do we have here? Use 3 as the primary. And then the others is the secondary. There we go. That works. Coming back, they shouldn't stop. They should just go straight through, which is fantabulous. Did they all get steel? No. Yes. Yes. No. Did only one not get steel? Looks like. All right. So only one of them did not get a load of steel to bring with them. And every steel is going to turn into 2 tools, which is amazing. So we've got those guys going. And let's keep an eye on this one. In fact, we'll just watch them go. Bring this speed down a little bit here. We can drop it to 1x and just kind of enjoy the countryside here. Because I am kind of curious how much money we're gonna make with this very dapper gentleman here, with his, you know, leading this wagon train across the prairie. I don't know if you can hear the screaming of the computer in the background as the video card just spools up to high RPMs. This computer's been with me for a while. I've bought this during the pandemic, so it's a 2070 Super. And I think at some point I'm going to have to disassemble it and redo the thermals on it. The thermal paste and what have you, because it is not loving what this game is doing to it. Alright, we're getting close here. So we're going to slow things back down. Survey says $15,000 for the steel delivery. Now there's no tools just yet. There they are, so we'll see who gets them. But we should start picking up some tools here. Yep, he's got 1, 2, 3 tools there. So we follow this guy instead, since he has the full load of tools. We're going to speed things back up here. Bring in our money from our steel venture. While we're making our way back, how are we looking for this? We have 85 ready to go. So I think, since these guys are on their way back, we're going to grab all of them and clone the whole lot. So we'll have an additional 10 rolling out. Our steel mill itself has some copper ready. We have plenty of coal. We just need more copper. The steel mill rather needs 2 copper, 2 steel to make 1, or 2 copper, 2 coal to make 1 steel. As this production and this shipment and this transport grows, once all of these are at roughly 80% of their totals, this will fill up and then transition over to level 2, where it will start, it'll be able to produce 400, which would require 800 of each of these. And so on and so forth up through the ranks. So as this starts demanding more, this will level up and be able to produce 1200 instead of 600. You can see right now we're only shipping 400 because that's all this can handle. It can turn 400 copper into 200 steel. That is its maximum. As these things grow in tandem, this will grow to a maximum of 1200, which can support this at level 3, but not level 4. Once it hits level 4, we're going to need additional steel, or additional copper and additional coal mines to support this one steel mill. And that's where the idea of cargo hubs come in, where you bring all of the resources to one central point and distribute those out, not only to cities, but also to the industrial sectors that need these goods. Where is our friend that actually has steel? Is it you? It is you. So let's see. You should just go straight through here without stopping. Good. So I'm curious to see how this ends up working out. We're going to repay 150,000 of that loan, brings our loan down to 8 million. We're now entering Philadelphia. Hitting that lag, getting a new industry founded with the coffee. Swinging in, whoops, we don't want to lose sight of you, but we do want to slow things down, as you should be nearing the truck stop. I believe. Yep, truck stop coming up on the right. So there's our truck stop. It's just this little stand in the middle of the street. And you make an additional $20,250 for dropping those 4 tools off. That is amazing. There's tools up here waiting, and you can see just how many levels this thing has. So again, it all needs to work in tandem in order to gain those levels. But we can pop the speed back up to a much more full amount, and we can actually check on our line statistics and see what is bringing in money and what is losing money. At the moment, it thinks that our steel, our trucking route is losing money, but that's only because these guys have not made their initial drop-offs yet. Once they make their initial drop-offs, because there's 40 steel about to be dropped off, you're just going to see the money shoot up there. In fact, as we're dropping tools off, you see the balance going up, 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 up. This Philly flash line is going to continue to lose money, but that's okay. That little commuter system is our sacrificial lamb, where its only real purpose is to generate these destinations, which gives us more residents. This influences your growth potential. So us dropping off those tools gives us 90% more residents. This is giving us an additional 40. So this is going to creep up towards 271 residents, up from wherever it started at 130 or whatever. $295. So you can see we're getting more, and as this population increases, they will also demand more tools. As they demand more tools, this number that they're producing will go up, and how much they're shipping will go up. So everyone has a full load of tools coming back, which is amazing. We have the trains moving in and out. So we have quite a bit here. And honestly, I think what I might do is grab... I don't need to grab all these guys, but I do want to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Clone them. We'll have an additional 10 trucks rolling out, grabbing steel, taking it up this way, and those steel trucks are almost keeping pace with our coal rail line, which is just insane. Going back to something I had said nearish the beginning with that 10,000 invisible building that I've put down, this steel terminal could only hold 60. Because I have 2 of those invisible buildings down, it can hold 20,060. So, because it won't utilize all 4 platforms for steel. It'll utilize the main platform that your line is using. There's no way to say like, oh, well, then I want 4 separate lines utilizing this and going up, because it won't distribute things evenly. That's why I use that invisible building. Some people might not like that I use that building, but you know what? It works. The alternative for anyone that doesn't use that is to add these large cargo buildings. They do cost a bit of money. And you would just sort of line your property with this instead, where you can fit them in. I believe you can fit 2 on the sides, except not up here because there'd be a collision. You can't do it on the front because there'd be a collision. So you could do 2 over here, possibly 1, 2, and then 1. So 5 total times 75. It would cost you about $40,000 or $400,000 to do that. And you would have to do that for every, you know, the rail terminals are a little different, where they have bigger buildings that can hold 80 items. So, but you can see how much space it takes up. It's not ideal. I played for years and years with that. And once I found the invisible building, I was like, that's perfect. That's exactly what I need. It cleans things up. It takes a lot of that early game stress off, and got enough sources of stress in my life at the moment. Don't need to be adding more in my playtime. So this video will likely be uploaded pretty immediately after I finish recording. You know, I'll bring it into Adobe Premiere. I'll clean the audio up a little bit. But once I have that done, I'll get it kicked up to YouTube, and then maybe this coming week, we'll have a Mall Monday and a new release Tuesday. It's been a while. It feels good to be back. I'm a little sad that, and by a little I mean very, but I'm sad that Mom never knew that I was doing this. So she never got to, I don't know that she would have gotten too awful much enjoyment out of it, but she might have. So, you know, little sad that I never got to show her this stuff. Show her what I was working on when I wasn't at work. One other thing that I'm thinking of picking up at some point in the near future is an actual, a capture card, and then hooking the my Nintendo Switch up to it and playing Pokemon, playing Fire Emblem. You know, there's so many games that I enjoy playing, and I'm not saying that I would make, you know, series out of them necessarily. But who knows? You know, maybe it would be like month-long marathon things, you know? Johto July. I don't know at the moment, and there's so many classic games on there, you know, that I loved as a kid. You know, I don't think the old school Mega Man have made it onto Nintendo Switch Online yet. But if they have, you know, maybe I'll boot up Mega Man 3. I loved Mega Man 3 as a kid. Something that my boss and I had been talking about not long before Mom passed was his daughter just lost her first tooth. And he was talking about, you know, I forget what he got her, but it was something, you know, fairly big. And I was like, the only danger with that is I remember when I lost my first tooth, because you know, I know it was my parents now, but at the time, you know, the Tooth Fairy left me a copy of Captain Planet for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Now, I loved Captain Planet growing up, so getting this video game was like, oh my god, this is amazing, and I couldn't wait to lose my second tooth. And when I lost my second tooth, I got $1. And, you know, I don't know if Mom knew that I still remember that so clearly all these years later. So there's plenty of classic titles, you know, some of which are on the Nintendo Switch Online, some of them aren't. There's the new Fire Red and Leaf Green, or, you know, the anniversary Fire Red and Leaf Green that just came out. Of course, my wife and I both bought both of them. And there's, you know, stuff like what the hell is that new game, Pokopia? And my wife is a huge fan of Ditto. So once there was a game coming out that was entirely focused around Ditto, that was it. She was hooked. In the same way that I have my Lego shelf, she has a shrine to Ditto with all different Ditto Pokemon trading cards and Ditto merch, and I bought her a Ditto Light, and we were looking at, there's a company that makes Ditto wrist pad or wrist rest for your keyboard, and a Ditto desk pad and what have you. So they also make a shell for the Switch 2 that's all Ditto that she was looking at. So, you know, hell, maybe my wife and I will play Pokopia on YouTube. You know, who knows? But in the meantime, this video's gone on a little longer than I had intended, but we have been able to get most of the loan paid back. And by most, I mean, what, we got it up to 9 mil and we're down to 5.5. We have our route set up with our trucks. So we're making good money there. Look at that. They're fighting for second place here. That copper one's going to be hard to beat, but the truck is definitely helping us out here. Causing a bit of traffic here. But it is what it is. Let's see. How we doing, Philly? So we now require 64 tools. That was, what, 34 last time we looked at it? So number of residents is growing. We're dropping off a shitload of tools. Which again means that this is going to be shipping more tools to keep up with the demand in the city. So yeah, everything's coming together slowly but surely. Look at that. Even Philly Flash is turning a profit a little bit. So it's all coming together. So anyway, I hope you all had fun. Again, apologies for the hiatus. I'm not going to promise anything, but hopefully we'll get things, no pun intended, but back on track. But for now, I hope everyone had fun. I know I did. I will see everyone next time.